Right. Arsenal have just beaten, or you could say Gabriel Jesus has just beaten Crystal Palace to make a semi-final. Yeah. Arsenal might win a trophy. Might. I'm not gonna sit here and act like, Arsenal were amazing, because they wasn't. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I didn't have hope for Crystal Palace because of what they showed us in the first half. But yeah, I have to do a reaction. It's pretty much because of Gabriel Jesus. Spectacular performance, must say. But yeah, I would say in the end it was well deserved. I have some criticisms, so if you don't want to hear little criticisms of what I felt about the game, you might as well switch off now. But if you do, you might want to smash a like as well and subscribe, because I'm gonna be honest, and I would like to think that you lot were honest with me too. And I feel like a lot of you would agree with some of my points, and feel free to also gather your points as well, because in the comments I do get involved. I do like to see what you have to say as well. I like to feel educated, or I don't mind being wrong, but this is how I view the game personally, right? This is what we learn. This is what we're going to break down today. So the first point is, and excuse my spelling, I think I might have spelled some of this stuff wrong. I might be wrong. Arteta underestimated this Palace side, right? I think a few of us, and you know what, including myself, thought Palace might rotate a few players, but they went full strength. Bar the right wing back Munoz could not. Well, he was just, if I'm correct, he got suspended last game, or a yellow, something along them lines. So he couldn't play him. Not that it would have made a major difference, but I think there was a debut for one of their right wing backs as well, man like Caleb. Big up to your older brother as well. Yeah, he didn't make a huge difference. He got the yellow card and he got replaced pretty much by Nathaniel Klein in the second half, right? But the way I looked at it is just like, okay, cool. Arteta, you put out, I believe, Thomas Partey next to Timber, and obviously had Kivio, who got bullied. I'm not a big fan of him at all. And then at left back, you played. Who did you play at left back again? Tierney. Cool. Then I look in the midfield. You put out who you need to put out: Marino, Jorginho, Wanyeri. You thought, you know what, it looked quite decent. You got experience there, next to a kid, right? And then obviously the up front was just Jesus, and basically Jesus. For me, Trossard got into the game in the second half, and then obviously Sterling. And I just thought like Arteta just got that selection really wrong. And it makes me wonder if he really trusts his side, because he did end up making 4 or 5 changes. And I know like Tierney hasn't played and Wanyeri's still a kid. You can make an excuse, maybe not even starting Saliba at centre back or one of your main centre backs. I thought it was a little bit naive from Arteta. If you thought to disagree, then sure, but I feel like he got his selection really wrong and he had to correct himself very quickly. And it kind of tells me through these changes that he did make that he doesn't exactly trust this squad fully. Not all of them, anyways. And this leads me on to my second part. And this is probably the most confusing one. Is just end Sterling's loan early. I'm going to get all the negatives out the way quick, because the quicker you can do that, the longer you can obviously end on the positive, which is obviously the win. But Sterling is just useless. And I'm sorry, look, it's not his fault. I don't think he's getting the amount of games to really prove himself if he can even have any impact in any of these games. But this is where I think it's the end of the road. I don't think he's going to play in the next round. I don't believe he's going to get any more pity minutes. I don't think Arteta really likes him. And it's fair, but it makes me wonder why you loaned him in the first place. He didn't make an impact tonight. He had one little decent link-up stint, and I think it might have led to one of the goals, if I'm correct. Or he might have been off. Again, I'm finding little nitpickings just to make sure it's not too harsh. But I think Wanyeri deserves more, and I feel like with that midfield, it against Will Hughes and obviously the other one, Jefferson Lerma, I thought that midfield would be enough. But in the first half, they were really moving to Crystal Palace, and Wanyeri got replaced. Arsenal. Wanyeri got replaced, and I just thought, surely you could have kept him on. Surely, this is a cup game. He done really well against Preston. His cameos have been nothing short of really good at the moment. I thought you could, trust him a little bit more. But, you have to win this game, and tough decisions have to be done, right? And it proved Arteta right in the end, because the second half performance was night and day different, right? The first half was sloppy. You could say it was lethargic. He was barely creating much. Jesus was dropping a little bit too deep to get onto the ball, just to make a little situation out of nothing. And it felt like it was quite comfortable for Crystal Palace. And I'm not even going to sit here and say Crystal Palace made any great chances, because they didn't. right? But you could hear the crowd. Like the moans were looming a little bit. It's getting a little bit restless, and probably should have expected Arsenal's second half performance to come into play. But I thought, yeah, it was night and day. I thought there was enough goals in there. Crystal Palace late scare as well. Nketiah, shock. He was always going to score against Arsenal, wasn't he? But maybe they made those changes a little bit too late for Glasner. But yeah, the second half, Arsenal picked up the pace, moving the ball a lot more quickly, getting the ball to Trossard. I thought Trossard's second half was wicked, right? Some of the passes he was threading through to Jesus, good link up. And I do wonder if Arteta is going to clock that Jesus and Trossard can play with one another, because it looked like they enjoyed themselves today, and of course Saka came on, right? And that front three there, for me, I don't know about you, I'm not trying to disrespect Havertz, but that front three is the most fluid front three Arsenal have got, and that's the difference, because Saka likes to run in behind. He likes to take on a player. He's smart. He's a genius for me anyway. Some may disagree. I'm not glazing him like that, but he's just a wicked player. He can do it all round winger. Then Trossard, a bit more nippy. He finds thread of the needle kind of passes, and his movement is very underrated. And you got Jesus, who just does an operation of a little bit of everything. And we talk about Jesus not having his shooting boots on. Got a hat trick. Jesus needed those goals. What a game from him. Man of the match, can't take that away from a hat trick. What did they used to call it back in the day? A hat trick hero. I think back in 03. Yeah, that's the difference. And I know it's just a cup game, and he's doing really well in the cups, but I said it when I think Jesus was it against Nottingham Forest when he smashed them 3-0. I do believe he's the one that started up front, if I can remember. And Arsenal just looked like they just play a lot better. Him, Erdegaard, Saka, even Trossard, they're more in tune than with Havertz, who's a little bit more slow with it. And I think Havertz is a little bit, tiny bit off the form from when he was originally playing at the start of the season, but it just looks like it's more free flowing. And that's up for you, the guys, to decide as well. You are the Arsenal fans that are probably watching this, but I do think Jesus, you can't score a hat trick and not deserve to play against Palace once again, because you've got them this weekend at Selhurst Park. So for me, Arteta definitely needs to work that solution out. It's probably a good headache. That's probably a better word or a better phrase for that. Arsenal can't operate without Saka and Erdegaard. That's the difference. You go check who assisted. I think Erdegaard ended up getting 2 assists for Jesus, and I think Saka got the first one as well in the second half. And I don't need to tell you that. I don't think anyone has learned that. I just put that for an extra point. But even in cup games, when it gets a little bit more tough, right? I just feel at that moment, bringing on Saka and Erdegaard told me everything I needed to know. Bringing on Saliba, the big guns, you had to rely on them in the end, and which is, it happens in games. Not all the time your second string or second-ish team string, second-ish string team can do you the job, but there's not much creativity there. There's not enough spark or a lot of life in the front line. Arsenal need to go on the market. It's as simple as that. They need to go on the market in January and find solutions. Is it Marcus Rashford? Is it whoever else? Is it potential Bruno Guimaraes? I don't know. You know your team better than me. You know what you need more than me, probably. And at the end of the day, I can only just judge from a rival view, right? So from there, I feel like even in this game, it's just showing more and more every week. Arsenal really needs to dip in the market. We don't need to mention it all the time, but there needs to be a new lease of life in the creativity pot. And also when it comes to the goal scoring edge, the clutch one, who's going to stand up. Can't always be Saka, He's the one that made the difference in the first goal for Jesus to get, obviously, his. But yeah, nonetheless, it was a great second half performance. Great comeback as well. It was I would like to call it more of a great comeback, just due to the fact of, it is a bit of pressure. There's a lot of pressure mounting on Arteta right now. He needs to go and secure some trophies. Bless Hooks, he probably thinks he's going to do a quadruple still. There you go. Lewis Skelly has gained Arteta's trust, and no one can tell me any different. Should have probably played from the start. Tierney has no business being on that pitch. And Lewis Skelly, yeah, I know he's fit, and I know Calafiori's got his fitness issues. Zinchenko, who knows? The guy's a myth these days anyways. But, he got to run out. Might trust Tierney a little bit more. Don't think he done much wrong anyways. He has lost a lot of his pace, but for me, Lewis Skelly is being relied on a lot more. The fact he got brought on, and I thought he done a really good job. I thought, actually, I would actually say putting him and Timber as fullbacks look night and day different, because you really, really pin back their wing backs and they couldn't operate as much as they could. I know Nathaniel Klein got up a little bit, but Lewis Skelly's a bit of a shit house, isn't he? So, and I got highlighted by Soups. He loves the yellow card, he really does. But I feel like he's a young talent, and I think he can be nurtured. And I think this is one player that definitely could. I think he's got a future. I think he can handle it. I really do. And it is premature, but you should. I feel like Arteta is going to be seeing a little bit more of him. He looks like a more of a natural left back that can do what Arteta likes. That's just my point of view from it. And for me, it's like, who knows where he's going to be. I think this league lacks good left backs, in my opinion. Not wing backs, left backs, and also fullbacks in general. And he could be the next best thing. Who knows, next year, the year after that, gets more minutes. You might get the nod. I think if Kivior goes, Calafiori might be the understudy potentially to someone like Gabriel. Do you know what I mean? Like, it will shape out the way it needs to. That means Arteta can stop buying left backs and be obsessed with them, because that's that. And of course, the main one is you're finally in the semi-final. You lot can tell me, because I was trying to think, was it the last time Arsenal were in a semi-final was probably the FA Cup run all them years ago. I don't know if they got to one any more recent than that. You lot can tell me in the comments, but do smash a like, do subscribe. I've got to go rewatch parts of the Liverpool game, because, of course, as it stands, as I know, I've got to gain another 10 minutes on watching that. So that's been paused. But anyways, hopefully they lose. And yeah, let's see who gets you in the next round.